What is up, Steeler fans? It is time for another Monday morning conversation, and we are finishing up our AFC North breakdown. We've already covered the Browns. We've covered the Bengals. You know what that means. We're covering the most hated team in the division, at least for Steelers. That's the Baltimore Ravens. And joining me, we have Brandon from the Caw Podcast. What's up, Brandon? How are you?
Feeling great. Thank you. Best for last. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Steeler fans, like the older fans might say the Browns, but anyone that's been alive for the 2000s on, it's the Ravens. It's always the Ravens. So it's fitting that you guys are the last one I'm going to do before training camp kicks off this Wednesday. I know you guys are starting about that same time. And maybe Josh will be joining us during the show. We're not sure if he's going to be able to make it or not, his cohort at the Caw Podcast. But and obviously that's a part of Fans First Sports Network. But I want to ask you, let's go back. Let's talk offseason. What was your takeaway on first the finish of last year, heading into said offseason? The Ravens clearly beat the snot out of the Steelers and took care of business in the wild card round, but did not get to where everyone wanted them to go. What's your takeaway on last season?
Obviously, last season, the regular season was great. It looked good, as the Ravens always do, gave the Ravens fan base a whole lot of hope, and went up to Buffalo in the cold, and things just did not go the Ravens' way, and it was heartbreaking to see. And unfortunately, it's kind of something we've kind of grown used to seeing this in January, but there was so much good vibes and everything going into that game against Buffalo. I mean, if you're a Ravens fan, and even if you were a Steelers fan, they were featured on Hard Knocks on HBO throughout December and January. Getting the behind-the-scenes stuff was really cool. I mean, all of us thought in Ravens Nation here that the Ravens were going to go all the way and go to the Super Bowl, and to see it end the way it did yet again, it definitely was heartbreaking. But it's kind of gotten to the point now where the Raven fans are kind of like, we've seen this before. You got to change something. You got to do something. And then as the offseason hit, everyone was clamoring for Mark Andrews to be traded and to be let go, and that didn't happen. And they stuck with a lot of defensive players for the draft. So I think the Ravens in this offseason have definitely addressed a lot of issues that they have had on the field. And even though we're heading into training camp, and the Ravens really don't have that many questions going into training camp, at least on paper, barring injuries or everything. But on paper, heading into training camp, they did a good job on this offseason where many of the major spots are not in question like they have been in the past.
Well, let's talk about free agency first. I don't feel like the Ravens were extra aggressive. They signed their own. They keep Derrick Henry. They give him an extension. Am I forgetting any big-time signings that they had in free agency?
I mean, we had Jair Alexander. He was the most recent one that came back. Yeah, and of course, he's got some history with Lamar Jackson. They played in college together. And he's a guy that they've really beefed up the cornerback position. And the defense, you got to look at that. I mean, you've got so many first-rounders right there playing the cornerback and safety positions. Jair Alexander, he's a guy that has been really good in the NFL, but he's also been a little bit injury prone. So this contract that he got, I think, is a fair one because he gets bonuses if he stays on the field. So it makes a lot of sense for the Ravens, and it makes a lot of sense for Jair Alexander to kind of get a prove-it deal here in Baltimore.
So when you think about the Ravens last season, and you think about, man, what are the holes on the roster that need to be filled in some way, shape, or form? On either side of the football, what positions were you thinking?
Wow. It's hard. I mean, the offensive line, I think, was kind of a big question mark leaving the regular season and into the postseason, because we did have guys leave, Pat McCary. I think he went to Jacksonville, and he was kind of like a guy that you could stick anywhere on the offensive line. And the only other really position you got to look at is a guy like Odafe Owe and Kyle Van Noy, and those guys, they're coming up, Kyle Van Noy is an older guy. They're coming up to the end of their contracts and potentially end of their careers after this season. So, there's definitely, there were some spots that they had to fill, but there was nothing really, something specific that they had to focus on this offseason.
Well, if they needed to, they had 11 freaking draft picks. And I remember looking at, the post draft, here's what everyone took. And, most lists are like half of a page on your screen on your laptop, and I'm having to scroll down further. I'm like, how many players did they select? The Ravens took 11 flipping players in the 2025 draft, and I was super pissed off with the first two. As a Steeler fan, as a football fan, y'all hit those first two picks out of the park. You took Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia, in your first pick, and then you get Mike Green. If he can stay out of trouble, we know he had some issues with that in college, and there's a reason he played at Marshall. I love Marshall. It's obviously Huntington, West Virginia, my home state, but there's a reason that and same reason Randy Moss was there. They had some issues, and they weren't getting to big-time schools. Talk a little bit about those two players and how you think they can transform the defense, both Malachi Starks at safety and Mike Green on the edge.
Yeah, absolutely. So defense obviously was something that the Ravens wanted to focus on. Marlon Humphrey even came out and said, everybody talks about that 2000 Ravens defense. We want people to talk about the 2025 Ravens defense. So that's what we're doing here. You've got Malachi Starks coming in. He's got a much bigger target on his back now, and he will be playing a lot more because Ardarius Washington tore his Achilles, I believe, and there's a chance that he might play maybe late December, maybe January. So Malachi's coming in, and it's definitely going to be like hit the ground running. You got to go. You got to learn on your feet, and he's got a lot of people around him to show him what to do. I mean, him and Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton was one of the guys that Malachi Starks says he looked up to as he was coming through the ranks. So those guys are definitely going to be a great combo. And you look at Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, Malachi Starks, and Kyle Hamilton. All four of those guys are going to be just going absolutely bananas on the field. They need to also focus at the beginning of the year. You look at the regular season of 2024, the first couple games, the Ravens defense looked completely out of sorts. It looked like they were lost. We didn't know what was going on. That also has to do with Zach Orr, the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, because he was coming in his first time as a defensive coordinator. He had to kind of get the game right. He had to get the coaching headspace correct. And he did that. And we saw the defense get better and better throughout the year. You can quote me on this. You can make this into a reel and a short. I say Zach Orr will be a head coach in the NFL in maybe 5 to 6 years. He still needs to work on the job he has right now and get better at coaching. But he's got the heart and determination to be a great head coach down the road in the NFL. Let him get done what he has to do in Baltimore first, but he will be that good. So I think him coming into his next year as a defensive coordinator with some experience under his belt now, with Malachi Starks, and like you said, Mike Green as well, he's coming in. He had some issues. He was probably going to be a first rounder if those off the field issues weren't there, but he fell to the Ravens, and the Ravens took a chance on him, and I think he's going to just excel. You look at some of the highlights of him on YouTube of his college career, he plays like a Raven. He looks like a Raven. He's definitely a guy that's going to fit very well into this scheme for the Baltimore Ravens.
So talking about Zach Orr, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Dean Pease come back as an assistant to help? Is he still on the coaching staff, or was that a one-year thing?
You know what? I'm actually not sure if he's there or not. I know he came back, and it was kind of like a mentorship program almost. So I don't know if he's here this year. I think we're probably going to find out a little bit more closer to training camp if he's still a part of it. But that was a thing. Like, Zach Orr was learning on the job. He was, had to be quick on his feet, and he was buckling at the first couple of weeks. And when they brought in Dean Pease and brought him in and kind of helped Zach Orr through, you saw what Zach Orr could really do as a defensive coordinator.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about another draft pick that you guys had, and this is going to tie into another big story that surrounded the Ravens this offseason and even last year too, and that's your 6th-round draft pick, your second of 5 6th-round picks, Tyler Loop, kicker out of Arizona. Okay, now this is going to tie into Justin Tucker being released, and he's currently suspended, I think, for the first 10 games of the 2025 season. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on Justin Tucker and all that situation. You don't have to go into the minutia, but then also this young kicker that you guys brought in.
Yeah, this was a history-making draft. Tyler Loop was the very first kicker in Ravens history to ever get drafted. So it was the writing you could kind of tell was on the wall when that happened. When his name dropped and it was the sixth round, you kind of were like, okay, it looks like whatever's going on with Justin Tucker is not going to go Justin Tucker's way. So Justin Tucker has been a great Raven on the field. I don't know the guy personally. I have met him at a couple like autograph signings, so I don't know what he did in his personal life or what he did off the field or not in front of the public. But it's incredibly unfortunate of the things that he was accused of, and it's unfortunate that it looks like what happened after an investigation by the NFL, and they suspended him for 10 games. So it really is sad to see a guy who meant so much to the team and to the city and to the whole organization kind of go out that way, because you expected more from him. He definitely was like you felt as a fan like this was a guy you could always count on. But at the end of the day, look at what he did last year. If you're sticking to just on the field, like what did they call it? It was like football reasons of why he was let go. If you look at that, he had a terrible 2024. And even on Good Morning Football back last season, Pete Schrager, Kyle Brandt, both were like, look, if this guy was anybody but Justin Tucker, he would have been cut already. So because of the history there with the Ravens, they kept him on throughout the season, but you couldn't count on him last year. You really didn't know if he was going to step on the field, if he would get that extra point, if he could tie a game, if he could do anything. So they are taking a shot. This kicker, 6th round, he's a 6th rounder. Who knows what will happen throughout training camp, but this is unfortunately a step that the Ravens had to take, and it's unfortunate that Justin Tucker's Ravens career is ending the way it did, and it really sucks that potentially, the things that happened off the field because they were also awful and gross and unnecessary.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of pressure on this young kid, because you know how many Steelers-Ravens games come down to 3 points or less. A lot of them.
That's true.
Not all of them,
yes,
but a lot of them. And with that being said, I'm welcoming Josh, who's finally able to work a computer and join the show. So, Josh, how are you? Are you still using that dial-up internet?
Yes, I am. No, I had a computer update, and then you know how that goes. It logged me out of everything, and I couldn't remember passwords. So I was totally enthralled with trying to get my computer up and running, and then I kept hearing my phone go off in the other room, and I was like, "Oh no, they're probably trying to hold of me." So I am here, present and accounted for. Better late than never, but thanks, Jeff. We're back at it, man. It's football season.
That's right. That is right. So we've talked a lot about what you've missed is we talked about free agent decisions being made, whether it's to, bring in a Jair Alexander, whether it's to sign Derrick Henry to an extension. We just went over the 2,000 draft picks you guys had in 2025. And so now there was a lot of them. But so I want to talk with you, Josh, and give you the first step. What are your expectations for 2025? 2024 did not end the way that you thought it would. So what are the expectations for 2025?
You're going to love this, and you might not be surprised. Super Bowl or bust. I'm over it. This team is too talented. This team is way too talented for the britches. It's now or never. Lamar's too good by himself. They have all the pieces. There's no holes in this roster. Frankly, if you ask me. I mean, look, I've even heard NFL analysts and pundits out there call the Ravens flawless or near flawless. I mean, right now on paper, I don't see a hole. And building upon what they did last year, they're always there. And it seems like it's always, yeah, but turnovers, or yeah, but this, yeah, but that. They're not getting blown out. They've had home field advantage twice in the last 5 or 6 years. They're letting opportunities slip through their fingers, and they're too good not to make it all the way. And then I even talked about somebody. I'm like Lamar should have 2 Super Bowls by now. The Ravens should already have another couple on their shelf. I mean, call it 2023 home field advantage. They had the Chiefs at home. They should have won that game. They had the Chiefs shut out. So, I mean, I hate to live in the past. You kind of have to go back there to move forward. But the answer to that, yeah, it's Super Bowl bust in 2025. It's kind of like we talked. Me and Brandon talked about it. It's like they're shooing for 10, 11, 12, 13 wins. What happens? And just fast forward through the playoffs. They're going to be one of the 7 teams. What's going to happen come playoff time? And that's where I'm kind of at right now. Just get me to January and let me see what they got. I'm frankly over it, and you can sense my frustration because it's just I'm over it, man.
No. I get it. My question is, do you ever feel Because the Steelers are not in the same boat as the Ravens. Since Ben Roethlisberger retired, it's been the quarterback carousel, and it continues to spin. The Ravens have their guy. They've had their guy. Do you ever feel like you're snake bitten? I mean, when you think back to Buffalo last year in the wild card and Mark Andrews just dropping the ball, or you talk about some unfortunate fumbles by Lamar Jackson and turnovers in the playoffs in previous years. Do you ever feel like the Ravens are not, I'm not talking like Buffalo Bills cursed, but do you ever feel like they're snake bitten a little bit?
A little bit, and I can't allude to what that might be. I don't know what puddle of mud they stepped in, but it just seems like they get there, and then it's just like they just get away from it. Like, you can even talk about it, 2019, right? Number 1 seed, they let the Titans come in and dominate them at home. Didn't even look like they stepped on the field. You know, the Chiefs game, they got out of their game plan what got them there from the beginning. It's kind of like it just leaves you scratching your head, and you're like, it leaves Ravens fans frustrated because you're like, just do what you did to get here. You have Derrick Henry, take care of the football. You know, don't turn. It's just the simple things, and they shoot themselves in their foot proverbially all the time. And, you know, now I know from a Steelers fan's perspective, you just sit there and smirk, you know, and it's kind of like, you know, the Ravens just couldn't do it. But, you know, but we're frustrated, and I think I embody the frustration among the fan base because that's the talk. You know, it's Lamar put it on himself draft night. You're going to get a Super Bowl out of me, believe that. Well, we want to believe you, but and again, it's not all on 8 shoulders. It can't be. There's a whole, you know, football is way too complex to leave it all for one guy, right? This isn't basketball where there's 5 out there and one superstar shines. You know, just like in the NBA Finals that happened with Oklahoma City and FCA. It's, you know, Lamar's the biggest piece. He touches the football, everything flows for him offensively, but the defense has to put up their end of the bargain, right? Lamar and the offense can't be on the field when, you know, if it's Mahomes or Allen or somebody else marching down the field and they got to stomp them or make the play or don't, you know, have a dumb penalty. So there's a lot of things, and you're right, the Ravens might be snake bitten, and I don't know what it is, man, but, you know, it's very frustrating, and we just can't put a finger on it. We want to blame coaching, we want to blame, you know, player performance, conditions, this or that, but at the end of the day, it's accountability. They're not executing when the time is right and the lights are shining brightest and the stakes are the highest. And right now, that's the state of mediocrity for the Ravens right now. They play out. Yeah. It just does enough, but it's always that but, and we're waiting.
Brandon, I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk about the snake bitten feeling or maybe you don't feel snake bitten. Maybe you feel like, hey, this team just runs into a buzzsaw every year.
I feel like this team as a whole always has their eye on that ultimate prize and the Super Bowl, and they kind of forget that there's steps to get there. You know, they have to get into the mentality of this is a week-to-week league. You know, you look at the beginning of the year last year, and they lost to the Raiders. I mean, they were definitely looking past that team. It was obvious on the field. They were just looking past that team. I don't think they were looking past Buffalo, but when Lamar throws an interception and then Josh Allen throws no interceptions, that means your defense isn't forcing those fumbles. They aren't forcing the turnovers. They aren't doing anything. This is a team sport, and if you want to get to the Super Bowl, you have to be the best in the world. And as a whole, I feel like this team sometimes will look past the team they're up against, thinking about the game down the road. And I think we saw that in Buffalo. This was a team that came in. I mean, there were buses of fans from Baltimore that went up to snowy Buffalo, and they took the buses up there, and they had tailgates and everything else, and it was just wild. But the team just was kind of like that first interception Lamar threw, which was in like the first 5 minutes of the game. I knew watching it, I'm like, it's over. It's just over. You can't make mistakes like that, and they're silly mistakes that like anybody playing week 1 should know. Don't do that.
All right, I want to flip the script a little bit. I've been doing this with all the AFC North people that I've had on my podcast, and the Steelers' offseason has been different. We'll put it that way. It's been different. The way that they've handled their business has been different. They waited around, and Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback for 2025. They trade a second-round pick for DK Metcalf. They trade George Pickens to Dallas. They bring in Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, but they send Minkah Fitzpatrick to Miami. It's been different. like I said, I want to give you guys a chance to ask me some questions, but also to let me know what Ravens fans are saying about the Steelers going into this season, because I know for a fact that like Browns fans think it's hysterical and they think the Steelers are going to be awful. I kind of disagree with that sentiment, but at the same time, what are Ravens fans saying? Josh, I'll let you start.
Real quick, Josh, before you go, what Browns fan is making fun of anybody?
Because that's all they do. They
Come on. Go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. And you're probably also forgetting, unless I missed the beginning part where you just signed breaking news TJ Watt for an extension.
We haven't talked about that yet. I was going to wait until I give you guys an opportunity to talk about it. We haven't talked about that.
But now you got him motoring after Lamar in the division and everybody else. But I mean, that's another piece of the puzzle, like you mentioned, with all the acquisitions and departures. You have a mainstay right there, TJ Watt. So. Yeah. It's kind of a mixed bag, right? It's because of the whole Aaron Rodgers persona and what he brings and how that Jets experiment failed. It's like they're putting all their hopes and dreams on a quarterback who's literally on his last legs. And it's like, is this it? Like, you kind of put it yourself in your shoes. Like, think about it with the Ravens. Like, if they were Lamar-less and they had to go out and get the old guy Aaron Rodgers to throw the ball. It's like, is this what we're going with, guys? Like, really? So it's what does the biggest question for you in all Steelers Nation is, what does Rodgers have left in the tank? Because if you think the Wilson experiment was horrible, this could be worse. And I know you're optimistic because it's Aaron Rodgers, and I don't get stuck on the name. I get stuck on what have you done for me lately, and that Jets experiment was awful. And it's not like he performed great, so you have to really feel squeamish if I were Steelers fans. And it's mixed. There's laughter, there's pointing fingers, there's, oh, here comes another 9-8 season and a mid-draft pick, and you're not making the playoffs once again, and you're not going to get your quarterback because you keep making a 9-8 record, and I hear that all the time. So, but you guys got talent. DK Metcalf is a talented receiver. TJ Watt, talented defensive player. It's why they just paid him. Jonnu Smith, talented player. They're not bringing these guys in for nonsense. So, and I don't want the Ravens or anybody to step on the field and take them lightly. The Ravens had success last year, but the Steelers have had success still for a bigger part of this whole, you can call it Lamar era if you even want. So that's the problem. And up until last year, Lamar couldn't really beat the Steelers. So this is going to be very interesting, and I put, quote, interesting, because I'm really interested to see how this team is, the cohesiveness of the Steelers. I like to see how it happens. And I don't know if HBO is going to do another series on the North again, but this would have been the year to do it.
It could have been, but I'll say this. So Aaron Rodgers, I did this article for our website, SteelCurtainNetwork.com. This was last week sometime. I looked at the Steelers' 2024 combined passing statistics. So that's Justin Fields, who got him to a 6-2 record, and then Russell Wilson, who took over after that. And then I compared it to Aaron Rodgers' 2024. He surpassed the combined stats of both of those guys last year. His 2024 numbers were not as bad as people think. The Jets have every right to be upset with what they got, but they also set him up to fail, meaning you let this guy run the asylum. You let him fire a coach. You let him choose the coordinator. That's not going to happen in Pittsburgh. He's there for 1 year. He knows it. The Steelers know it. Mike Tomlin is not a coach that's just going to let someone walk all over him. He's handled head cases, quote unquote, before. I don't see that being a problem. The question I have about Aaron Rodgers is, can the offensive line keep him clean? And that's going to be necessary. If they can, I think he will be able to move the ball through the air because they do have a lot of nice weapons this year, I think. I'm excited for that. But, Brandon, I'll let you chime in as well.
Yeah, I want you to kind of talk a little bit more about that. My biggest concern for you guys and Aaron Rodgers is I don't feel like Aaron Rodgers has faced teams like the AFC North in the past. AFC North is very much an in-the-trenches, tough, hard-nosed, hard knocks, if you want to say that, division. It is a tough division. It is a hard division to play in. And a guy who, yes, does have an arm and stays in good shape, Father Time is undefeated. So what do you think is going to be Aaron Rodgers in the AFC North? Can he handle a load like that? Because you've got the Bengals, you've got the Browns with five QBs. You've got the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, these are not going to be just pushover teams. These are not going to be just pushover games. And he's got to face all those teams twice. So can he do that? And, is he going to kind of be like shell shocked a little bit by the amount of physicality this division has?
You could say a lot about Aaron Rodgers, that he's a nut job. You could talk about his political stances, whatever. The dude is a tough football player. Like, he does take shots. He does get up. I will say this, at any aging veteran quarterback, I don't care if you're talking about Tom Brady in the waning years of his career. You could talk about Ben Roethlisberger at the end of his career. Their best friend is a good running game. That is their best friend. So the Steelers let Najee Harris walk in free agency. And to be honest with you, a good 90% of the fan base said, that's fine. We're not going to miss a 3.7 yards per carry average. We want guys that are explosive. So Jaylen Warren's going to get more carries. And I think he is the more explosive back, and he's been here for the past 2 years. He's going to be that first running back on the field. They draft Caleb Johnson out of Iowa in the 3rd round, and there's a lot of hype around this young man. He's big. He's faster than Najee Harris was. He runs in the zone scheme, which Arthur Smith wants to run more. The stretch zones concepts that Arthur Smith, you got to have vision. Najee didn't have that vision. Caleb Johnson does. And then this offensive line, Troy Fautanu is going to be back. He was their first-round pick last year, lost all of last year except for one game with a knee injury. He's going to be back on the right side. Isaac Seumalo at left guard. He was starting off the year injured with the pec injury. If he can stay healthy, Broderick Jones, first-round pick, moving over to the left side. If this offensive line, I said this is the biggest question for me going into this season. If they can open up holes and get a running game, then Aaron Rodgers can play action pass, that's when they'll be the most lethal.
I got something for you. Are you confident with Jaylen Warren carrying the full load?
No, but I don't want him to. I want Caleb Johnson to get carries. They got Kenneth Gainwell, Kenny G as he calls himself, from Philadelphia. Like, he's a good third down back, change of pace guy. I don't want one running back. If you're talking about, okay, two backs, how are you split it? 60-40. So can Jaylen Warren handle 60? I think he can. Can Caleb Johnson, rookie year, handle 40? I think he can. That's a good two-back system. And if you want to throw Kenneth Gainwell in there sparingly, so if you want to do 50, 30, 20, whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't think they need, it's not the Derrick Henry situation where he's going to have 80% of the carries and Justice Hill will come out there for the other 20. But I like the Steelers running back room. I really do.
Now, what about the locker room in general? Like, with Aaron Rodgers being there and Mike Tomlin being the head coach, like, those are some strong-willed guys. Like, they believe in what they say. Do you think the two of them can coexist if things were to, go south on a play or two? Like, are we going to see some fireworks on the sidelines? Because I don't think that Tomlin has had a player like Aaron Rodgers playing for him before. I don't know if I've ever seen him go against somebody who's got like such, a strong opinion on football like Mike Tomlin does. Aaron Rodgers can probably match that.
Probably since Ben Roethlisberger. At the end of his career, he was more of a gunslinger. Look, I want to do this. And a lot of times Mike Tomlin would back down and say, okay, man, I trust you. Go make a play. Go do it. I think that's what you're going to see more of. But, a lot of Steeler fans say that Mike Tomlin always handcuffs his quarterbacks. Since Ben Roethlisberger retired, when Mitch Trubisky was there, don't turn it over. Just don't turn it over, Mitch. Okay, Kenny Pickett comes in. Rookie, don't do something stupid. Don't turn it over. You can go back to 2019 when Ben Roethlisberger's elbow blew out and Mason Rudolph and Devlin Duck Hodges came in. Don't mess it up. That's what he famously said. Don't kill us. He didn't kill us. A lot of people say that's always the ongoing theme. Justin Fields, don't turn it over. Russell Wilson, you know the script. If there's one quarterback that's still active in the NFL that's going to say, you know what, it's my last year, I'm not going down like that, who would it be? It would be Aaron Rodgers. And so a lot of Steelers fans are kind of hoping that he does push back a little bit and have Mike Tomlin loosen up the reins and say, look, if we're going to win, we have to score points. Like, we're talking about Steeler fans getting excited for averaging just over 21 points per game. Like, that's not it. You got to get over 24. You got to be in the mix offensively, especially when you're going against a team like Cincinnati, who puts up a ton of points, and they will this year too. A team like Baltimore, same memo. Cleveland, no, don't worry about it. But still, those two teams, you know what I'm talking about. They don't even know who their quarterback is, so I don't know. But
apparently it's going to be Flacco, and I don't even know if they even know what they're doing with that.
I don't know. But all right, guys, this has been great. Unless you guys have any other questions for me, we can wrap it up. Josh, you good?
I got one thing.
Okay.
Given the Steelers' makeup of the schedule, right? You got some marquee matchups. Apart from the biggest ones, Ravens Steelers matchups. What are you most excited for with the schedule that the Steelers have in front of them this year?
They do play in Dublin. They play the Minnesota Vikings in Ireland, and that's in Week 4. So that's going to be exciting. But then the NFL threw the Week 5 bye at them. And so then that's a really early bye week, and I really hate that. And again, for the second year in a row, all of their really difficult games have been backloaded. So if you're wondering, like, okay, I'm trying to gauge the Steelers, they have to come out and start well. Last year they did that, and they finished, well, as expected. They were 6-2 and finished 10-7. I think they have to have a similar start to the year. They got to get out to like a 6-2 start, 6-1 even, and then if you lose a couple games down the stretch when you go to Baltimore, when you play these tough teams, okay, it is what it is. Like they're going to host Buffalo this year. I like the Steelers' schedule, and it does, again, it's a little bit lighter on the front side, a little bit more challenging in the backside. We'll see how it goes. What about you guys? You guys excited for any specific games outside of division play?
Who couldn't be excited for Thanksgiving night? Come on, man.
Oh, that's right. You guys have the Thanksgiving night game.
Thanksgiving night.
Thanksgiving night's
Do
going
you
to be a
like
good
that?
one.
I hate holiday games.
And it's a home
I
game
hate it.
Well, it's a home game for me, so it's going to be, my mom hates it. She didn't put down regular. She's like, they're not going to game. But yeah, like, I went to the Thanksgiving game the last two times they had it. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm most excited for that. Obviously, it's another edition of Bengals Ravens. What I'm least excited about is they have the Bills and the Chiefs in the first 4 weeks of the year. So you're going to know, you get them out of the gate early, but this is the second straight year, and I talked to Brandon about this. Think about this. 2023, they ended the year losing to the Chiefs, and then they started the following year at Chiefs.
Yep.
They lost to the Bills in Buffalo. Now we got to go back there for the first game. So it's just like, here we go again. So it's like I see a theme here. So it's kind of like it's like pain. Do you want more pain or do you want revenge? So you got to put it past them. So it's going to be interesting because here's the barometer. You're talking about the Steelers starting off fast. You're going to know what Ravens team you're going to get really quickly because you have a divisional game in the first 4 weeks, and then you have the Lions on Monday Night Football at home. So if the Ravens somehow go 2-2 or 1-3 and losing to the Chiefs and the Bills, they're going to be third yet fourth best. If the Bengals start emerging, because you know how the Bengals in this division start slow for some really crazy reason. So that's what has me intrigued. So all eyes, and that could be said for any team, Jeff, is you always want to start fast. You don't want the team get behind 1 or 2 games under 500 to start off. But, I heard a quote, and I'll share this with you. It probably bleeds to the schedule. It's if you start messy, you can always finish clean. So
I like that.
I think it's going to be an interesting year for the NFL in general. Not only for our respective teams, but there's a lot of great matchups, a lot of great things going on, and I really can't get the way to get after it. I can't believe we're on the brink of training camp. It just came so quick, but we're gearing up and we're ready, man, and I can't wait to get after it. And you got Ravens, not Ravens, you got Steelers Jets in week 1. So Aaron Rodgers' former team, you got some storylines right out of the gate for you.
For sure, absolutely. Brandon, real quick, any final thoughts? And you can plug what you guys are doing at the Cobb Podcast and all the social media handles.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to say that Monday night game, Baltimore does not get a lot of Monday night home games. It's going to be Baltimore versus Detroit. That's the game I'm probably looking forward to the most.
That's gonna be a good one.
That'll be a really good one, and it's early on in the season, so that'll be a lot of fun. And Baltimore, they love to play underneath the lights, so that's definitely going to be a great one. So listen to the Call podcast. Josh and I, once the season really gets going, we do the Wake Up Call, which is kind of like your daily podcast, get you ready and going in the morning, couple 10 minutes, and give you kind of the updates and the highlights of what happened the day before. Josh and I go in depth on the previous games of the week, and then we really dive it into Purple Friday preview coming up on what's going to happen on Sunday or Monday night or Thursday night, even if you want to go that far. So you can check out the Call podcast wherever wherever you listen to podcasts, because, of course, we're all a part of the Fans First Sports Network. We absolutely love that. You can check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/thecallpodcast. You can follow me on X and Blue Sky at Brando Cash. Josh, I think you are only on X, but I think you are AJ_Murr as well. So, yep. So you can follow us over on the socials. We post on YouTube as well. We sometimes go live on Twitch. You can check us out, Brando Cash Pods, as well on there. So that's pretty much it for the socials. We can't wait to get this rocking and rolling again. Like Josh said, training camp is right around the corner, and soon enough there will be football on TV, and I can't wait.
That's right. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. I do appreciate it. We will be talking when the season rolls around for sure. Take it easy, guys.
Sounds good, Jeff. Thanks.
Thank you.